For thousands of years, humanity has searched for one thing above all else: immortality. Some believed it could only be found in heaven. Others searched for it through religion, ancient myths, or spirituality. But what if I told you that the closest thing to immortality isn't hidden in some distant galaxy? It's already here. Living in our oceans is a tiny creature that does something no human ever has. When it reaches the end of its life, it doesn't simply survive. It starts over, again and again and again. Scientists have called it the closest thing to biological immortality ever discovered. So, how is this even possible? Could this tiny animal hold one of the greatest secrets in biology? And could understanding it one day change the future of humanity forever? Let's find out. Aging is a natural process that affects every part of our body. As time passes, the cells that make up our tissues gradually become less efficient, and their ability to repair and maintain themselves begins to decline. Our cells are constantly dividing, repairing damage, and carrying out essential functions. But they aren't designed to do this forever. But here's where things get interesting, because while aging seems like an unavoidable rule of life, one tiny creature appears to have found a way around it. Meet Turritopsis dohrnii, a tiny species of jellyfish, commonly known as the immortal jellyfish. It can be found in oceans around the world, and at first glance, there is nothing particularly extraordinary about it. It's small, fragile, and looks like many other jellyfish. But hidden inside this seemingly ordinary creature is something that scientists find incredibly unusual. Unlike most animals, Turritopsis dohrnii has the ability to essentially reverse its own life cycle. When faced with severe stress, injury, or starvation, instead of simply dying, it can turn back the biological clock. To understand just how unusual this jellyfish really is, we first need to look at how the life cycle of most jellyfish works. It begins with reproduction. Male and female jellyfish release sperm and eggs into the water, where fertilization can occur. From this, a tiny free-swimming larva is created. The larva drifts through the ocean currents until it eventually finds a hard surface to attach itself to. And this is where its life changes. The larva develops into a structure called a polyp. At this stage, it no longer looks like the jellyfish we normally imagine. Instead, it stays attached to a surface and grows. Eventually, the polyp begins producing young jellyfish, which break away and start swimming freely through the ocean. Young jellyfish continue to grow until they become adults, known as medusae. The familiar bell-shaped form we recognize as a jellyfish. And normally, that's the direction life moves. Birth to growth, to adulthood, to reproduction, to aging, to death. Like almost every other animal. But Turritopsis dohrnii doesn't always follow that final step. Because when this jellyfish reaches the end of its life, it can go backwards. If the beginning of this jellyfish's life isn't extraordinary enough, its ending is where things become truly bizarre. When an adult Turritopsis dohrn is seriously injured, starving, or exposed to extreme stress, you would expect it to die. But instead, it begins to disappear. Its bell shrinks, its tentacles are reabsorbed, and it loses the ability to swim. The adult jellyfish eventually sinks to the ocean floor and transforms into a small, cyst-like structure. And then, something almost impossible happens. Within roughly a day or two, that structure develops into a polyp, one of the earliest stages of the jellyfish's life cycle. From there, the polyp can grow and eventually produce new young jellyfish, In other words, the animal hasn't simply survived, it has reversed its life cycle. Imagine if a butterfly, instead of dying, could transform back into a caterpillar and then become a butterfly all over again. That's essentially what makes Turritopsis dohrnii so extraordinary. But this raises an even bigger question. How can an adult animal completely reverse its biological development? And the answer lies inside its cells. So how can a jellyfish actually reverse its own life cycle? The answer is a remarkable biological process called transdifferentiation. In simple terms, some of its specialized cells are able to change into completely different types of cells. Think about it like this. A human muscle cell is built to perform a specific job. A nerve cell has a completely different structure and function. Normally, once a cell becomes specialized, it stays that way. But in Turritopsis dohrnii, certain cells can essentially change their identity. During the transformation, cells from the adult jellyfish are reorganized and transformed into cells needed for the polyp stage. The animal is therefore not simply repairing its body, it's rebuilding itself into an earlier stage of its own life. Once the polyp is formed, it can grow normally and eventually produce new jellyfish. And because the new jellyfish comes from the same organism, it carries essentially the same genetic information. But that doesn't mean it is truly immortal. It can still be eaten, infected, injured, or killed by environmental conditions. So the real mystery isn't whether this jellyfish can live forever. It's how its cells learn to turn back the biological clock. In other words, under ideal conditions, it may be able to avoid aging indefinitely, but it can still die from everything else, and that distinction makes all the difference. Why scientists are so interested? By understanding how this tiny creature can repeatedly reset its own life cycle, researchers hope to uncover new ways to repair damaged tissues, regenerate organs, and better understand the aging process itself. Could similar mechanisms one day help treat diseases like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's? Could they allow injured organs to heal in ways that are impossible today? Or even help humans live longer, healthier lives? No one knows the answers yet. But every new discovery brings us one step closer to understanding one of biology's greatest mysteries. For thousands of years, humanity has searched for immortality in myths, religions, and legends. Yet one of the closest things we've ever found was never hidden in a sacred temple or buried in some forgotten civilization. It was quietly drifting through our oceans all along. This tiny jellyfish reminds us that nature has already solved problems we still struggle to understand. Perhaps the greatest discoveries of the future won't come from inventing something entirely new, but from finally learning the secrets that life has been keeping for millions of years. Because maybe the biggest mystery isn't whether humans will ever conquer aging. It's how many answers have been right in front of us all along. If this tiny jellyfish changed the way you think about life itself, leave a like to support the channel.